Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the entire world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. If you'd like to have your name read out in this show, get in touch with us and we'll talk about what we can do for you and what you can do for us. But more importantly, we're here to talk about what the heck happened on Sunday and what's going to happen on Friday. The NRL have been kind enough to give us a 24-hour gap between games, so it's going to be awesome to watch our boys go up there and whip the Eels' butts. But before then, we have the very talented and awesome and good friend of mine and yours and the show's Josh Bolling on the other end of the line. Josh is kind enough to give us his time. We always appreciate it. If you hear any construction going on around my microphone, it's because there's construction going on around my microphone. Josh, you're out there, buddy, and we'll get into the whole spectrum of you being out there. But how are you? What's going on? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Despite a bad loss and a heartbreaking loss, I should say, can't complain.
Excellent. Well, that loss to the Tigers 20-18 in Golden Point leaves us in 7th place. So we've just snuck into the 8 at the moment. And as I said, we've got a short turnaround, which we'll get into against the Eels. Now, Josh, 20-18, West Tigers defeat the Sharks somehow, some way. Let's start with your overall takeaway. What was your takeaway from the game? What are you taking away from the game itself?
Yeah, it's a tough one because it was like you guys said on the post-game podcast. I'm not sure how I feel because I don't feel like we played terribly, even though the ending really dampened my thoughts on it. I would have rather us just been absolutely horrific and getting done. But the way we fought back was encouraging, and the crowd against you, the Tigers flying, and then you get back in the game and then you lose like that after so many opportunities to nail at the end. I'm really left a little confused about this side and where we're at the moment, because there's so many good things we do, and then there's just periods where it's just really flat. And that, I think that game really encapsulated where we're at it as a team at the moment. There's so many good things, and there's guys doing so many great plays and try saving opportunities, and then they just plateau, and there seems to be not much thought in a lot of things, and then we score tries of the year every week, and I'm really not sure where we're sitting at the moment. I don't know if you feel the same way, or have you got any indication on where we're at as a team?
I do. It's hard, as you say, because if Nico doesn't miss by, what are we talking, 2 centimeters or something?
Yeah.
Then he gets the greatest field goal of all time. We walk away winners. We know how to win in Golden Point. A couple of Trindle shots go pretty close. There are a couple of try opportunities. Tall Tom, Dan Atkinson. It was super close. And to be honest, a lot of the times in that Golden Point, they were putting themselves in the right spot. Now, some of the times they weren't, to be fair. It wasn't perfect with the setups. It was far from perfect. But watching it back, there was a lot they did right and some they did wrong. And in those situations, you can't do anything wrong, or you're not going to win the game. So I think what we have here, Josh, is a team that by now really should know better. And I think that if they don't move forward in situations like that again, then I do think we have a lot to talk about as far as game management and that kind of thing. But I do maintain that, if that goalpost isn't as thick, if that wind isn't one whatever less, they kind of did almost everything to win it. But then, to be fair, they did a lot to lose it. So I'm just as complicated by the situation as you are, but I don't think it's dire by any means. But I do think we can't keep doing this stuff where it gets down to the wire and you just keep bombing it. They need to be better Because as you say, they can score the Hail Marys, but the problem with Hail Marys is they don't come off every time. And so a lot of that stuff they were doing in Golden Point was a little bit unnecessary. They did a lot right. But what you need to do is straight down the middle, Fanua Blake, Hazelton, Talakai, Fanua Blake. That's all you need to do, and your kickers will get the job done. So they need to learn from it, man.
Overcomplicated it, didn't they? They
They did.
overcomplicated it big time.
Now, I do think that the idea that we've been talking about, the notion that there's not a leader out there, that came into play. I kind of think that there was more leadership on the field than what we think from the naked eye, but it still wasn't enough to get the job done. So I do think in those situations, someone at the flip of the coin in extra time needs to go, follow me. Whether it's Nico Hines, whether it's Braden Trindle, whether it's Blake Brayley, if it's Cam McInnes, someone in the center needs to say, I got this. We're doing it my way. So it is no doubt a game they should have won. I've heard all sorts of different theories. I've heard theories that the trainer wasn't out there doing the right thing. I've heard things that, I don't know, we were never in it. We were lucky, like all this sort of stuff. They were down 18-6 at Leichhardt. They came back. I don't think overall they played poorly at all. I've been looking at a few other things I don't usually look at, Josh, like Willie Mason's podcast. And they had nothing but praise for the Sharks. They had nothing but praise for the halves. So it depends what angle you want to come from. But we can't shirk away from the fact that we lost the game we should have won in so many different regards. And it's disappointing and it could be costly. At the moment, we can get out of it. It's fine. I'm talking long-winded here, but it's a complicated situation. Josh, let's start out with your experience at the beautiful Leichhardt. It was an overcast day, very windy, as we saw from the coverage, which affected the game, no doubt. How was the vibe on the hill?
Man, the vibe on the hill was as electric for a in-season game as I've experienced for a long time. I'll give them one thing, and those guys know how to make some noise. I mean, that, like, even to the point of when they announced Lachlan Galvin's name pre-run out, they absolutely gave him a bath. They sprayed him. There was some interesting comments getting thrown around. The boos were echoing around, and then 10 minutes in the game, he sets up a try, and they're all going, "How good's Lachlan Galvin?" Like, you know, they could be a little fickle bunch, but I had a really good time despite some absolute clowns on the hill ruining the experience for everyone around them. Just too many drinks and too fired up with, you know, the male testosterone and wanting to start fights with, you know, just all that stuff. Really just it pisses me off, to be honest. You've got women and children around and old people, and they want to push and shove, and, you know, that stuff's just really not on for me. I know, you know, banter and you know, little fun comments, if it make it funny and harmless, I love that stuff. And for the majority of it, and 90% of the people there, really good.
Yeah.
But despite that, the atmosphere was, you know, man, I was vibing, I was jumping up and down. I could barely see half the field, but that didn't take away from the experience. I'll tell you, if you think Shark Park's bad, go and stand on the hill on a packed Sunday at Leichhardt. You'll start to appreciate Shark Park a little more.
Yeah.
And the noise when that penalty in the Golden Point, it was like that. And I don't say this to be disparaging. It was like they won the grand final. It was deafening.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're a Tigers fan, man, that would have been a pretty bloody good experience. But
I mean, let's reverse it. If it was us, we'd be cheering like grand final too. And just on the crowd stuff, like you know, every club has some bad dudes and dudettes, and we do too, probably. You and I probably don't see it too much, but I'm sure there's someone in the stadium being an a-hole. But there is a vibe at Leichhardt on that hill if you're in the wrong spot, and they sort of have they think they have some sort of God-given right that's their turf and their territory, and they go there 4 times a year and they can do whatever the hell they want. And sometimes they're allowed to do that, but it's not cool. It's not good enough in this day and age. It's 2025. Let's all get our act together and let's all be humans, because we're there to watch a game. And I hate that kind of stuff, man. And I've said that all along on this show. Like, I just hate it. Like, be as passionate as you want, but don't start trouble. Don't start real trouble, you know? And it's inexcusable, and it happens at every ground. But I did hear a lot of bad things about that hill on the weekend from Cronulla fans, to be fair. But we're not here to focus on that. Tell me about, let's start with the negativity and we'll get to some positivity, Josh. Tell me about what you saw and what you've seen from the replay about how they manage things. Particularly, I'm pretty obsessed with from the 70-minute on, and who should have done more, who should, like, tell me about your thoughts on the last sort of 15, 18 minutes, including Golden Point.
Well, the thing that really stuck out, and I actually said this to a punter, a Tigers bloke next to me, when the Tigers went for that field goal where they went to Lua and he passed about 30 meters to his left for Dewey to take that kick from nearly the sideline, I said to him, mate, what is he doing? Why wouldn't he take the shot? And then 5 minutes later, we did the exact same thing and both absolutely shanked. And I'm like, Nico was in a perfect position to take that field goal. I'd know he'd been charged down twice by then or missed, but he was in the spot to take the shot. And then not a great pass to Trindle, who then shanks it. Like, that's the stuff from talking about. I feel like they honestly just copied the Tigers, tried to do the same play and thought that they'd execute, and they didn't. And that's the stuff for that's the game management side we talk about, right? Where I just don't think you need to overcomplicate it. Like, four hit ups, 5 hit ups, then just take a shot. If you miss, oh well, like, you might get another chance, you might not, but you've got to have, if you're in the best position to take that shot, you've got to have the balls to do it. And I felt like maybe Nico was a little, I don't want to say he was scared, because I don't think he was at all. I thought that they thought that was the best decision to make, but Trindle's never been a great striker of the ball field goal wise. I feel like he always feels rushed, where at least Nico he's too casual. That's why he always gets charged down.
Yeah.
But he's the guy that has to take it. And like you guys discussed on the podcast, if Atkinson's out there, why not? If you both of them have missed 3 or 4 shots, give the guy a crack. They won't expect it. Yeah,
you know what's amazing about that is because you got Trindle to the left, you got Nico to the right, and old mate's right behind you. Like,
yeah,
it's a bummer. I think in the future, should that happen again, they might execute that. But yeah, they had so many chances to ice that game with both a field goal and a try, and they mucked it up. And they know that, and they'll do some video on it, and we all joke about they're learning from it. If they don't learn from it, then we might as well not run out as a team. You know what I mean? So I have faith that they will. Also, who was it? It might have been the Channel 9 guys on the show last night with Joe and a few people were saying, or I can't remember who it was, but it's hard to train for that, in the sense of, yeah, you can train about where you're going to be and then you can have the field goal. But it's hard to train with that, with 14,000 people at Leichhardt going nuts in that wind, with that on the line. It's a different experience. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to replicate it, because you should. You're professional athletes. But I think the point that I heard that was, it's hard to train for that in that actual game day experience. I kind of go along with it. And so you've played 70 minutes, you're a bit frazzled. I understand that's their job to get it right. So I'm at no point okaying what happened on the weekend. But there are certain factors that come into it where they do the wrong thing. They make the wrong choice, and it sucks. And it's their job to learn from it. So super frustrating. Nowhere near good enough. I was laughing a bit at people, not at people. I was laughing at the notion that the effort wasn't there. Like,
yeah, ridiculous.
Man, they did everything to win. They didn't win. Now, then someone pointed out to me, which is fair, that horrendous try to De Silva, where Blake and Nico in particular just watch it go by. Sure, moments of seconds of effort that could have been improved. Absolutely. No question about that. But you can't say they didn't try. The effort wasn't there. Like, it's when the coach says the effort's there, I think he means it because he saw what happened. Down 18-6, I thought we were done. I watched the game with my old man, and I kept saying to him, "We're done now. Like it's not going to happen." And that's I genuinely felt that. I wasn't sort of throwing in the towel, but I was like, I was saying to my dad, he's a bit older. I was like, "We're done. We'll calm down on this one, and we'll move on to to para." But to their credit, they got back into it, and yes, super frustrating game. So many levels of frustration with bombed opportunities. Let's get to the positive.
Worst part is I just want
go
to
ahead.
say the worst part was losing on a penalty goal. Like I would have much rather lost on a field goal. Like okay, too good, nailed a field goal, fair enough. But like to go, it feels like just going on a little bit of a whimper, and like it was definitely a strip. I don't think Tom was actually intending to strip, but there was the motion. I think it was a completely fair penalty.
Absolutely.
But I know he was. There's no way he was deliberately. He was trying to pull him down. Just had hand on the ball. Like that's a tired mistake after playing 88 minutes of a really physical, tough game. Like it was a physical game. The Tigers were really good,
and Tom was good.
Tom was great. Like I gave him 1 point. Like despite the strip, like I'm not taking away his effort. Like the try saver on him, it might have been Galvin, I think, or Seyfarth.
It was
like. Imagine he scores that under sticks. Like
he all but scored. Like it was hilarious. And Nico set it up. It was like Nico's having a really good game. Nico had a pretty good game, and all I'm seeing is all this trash about him, and we'll get to that later. But
and I will say, like being at the game, because I could only see half the field, I was watching him and Trindle very closely because I was like, well, I can't see anything else. I can't see the ball. And I was watching. They were marshalling the troops around all game, never stopped directing, yelling. Like giving people baths, like for people, if they suggest that they aren't leaders out there and they're not directing the traffic and how the plays are being set up, whether you think they're effective or not, man, they don't shut up. They were like Nico in particular was really getting the boys around the park, and he was yelling at blokes. And when people were in the wrong spot, he was spraying them, and as a good half should. So it was really good to see that because I hadn't seen it for a while. I hadn't been to a game for a while, and that pleased me to see that he's still got that confidence to marshal the troops around.
Now, when Dan Atkinson didn't pass to Ronaldo to win the game at the end, you go back and watch what Trindle does. He does not hold back on Atkinson, and it's pure emotion. It's nothing personal.
No.
And at first I was like, ooh, the kind of softer side of me was like, that's not good for morale. But then I was like, actually, it's fine. Like he needs to know.
And he deserved it.
There's a 2-on-1. Yeah. Now, to your point, completely agree. Like, if you watch them close enough, they are out there doing things. The argument is, well, they had 45 chances to ice the game and they didn't. Now, it's not, those 45 chances are not down to those two guys specifically. But the argument would be, Josh, it's all very well they did that, but what the hell happened? Why didn't you walk away with 2 points? So I see both sides to it, but they are definitely out there doing things. I agree with you there. Let's talk some positivity, and we can always go back to the negativity. Don't worry about that. We'll start with where we always start this year, with the Dally M leader, Will Kennedy, off contract. He is now what's the name of that St. George winger? Christian
Tuipulotu?
He's the new Tuipulotu.
The money.
That's what Will needs to be walking around when he's at the shops. Hey, I'm here. Fantastic game. Near perfect, not perfect, but near perfect. And really the heartbeat of our attack. And set up so many moments that weren't even a thing. That's what he does now. He just creates moments that aren't there. Really great to see, really satisfying to see. We'll put the caveat out, which I don't even believe in, but just because a lot of our listeners do. Oh, we've got to see it again next week. Sure, let's see it again next week. But absolutely killing it. And I am more fascinated every second by what's going to happen with the contract and with the deal and when it's going to happen. I'm getting the vibe that maybe the Sharks aren't as obsessed and they know what's going to happen and it's all going to be smooth sailing. So we'll wait and see on that. But you can't tell me, Josh, that other clubs aren't looking at him now. Maybe clubs coming in the future. I think the situation gets slightly more complicated. I'm not saying from a Cronulla point of view, because they'll have first and last say in it, and he loves the club, etc., etc. So I'm not worried. But people can't now say to me, no one else wants him. I would find that incredible to believe.
Yeah, and to be fair, Sam, I was one of the ones saying that to you.
I don't have a problem with people having doubts in him preseason, but after 8 games, if you're going to look me in the eye and say he's rubbish, he's whatever, I'm going to laugh at you and go, "You're not watching the game." That's all. And I'll put the other asterisk next to it. Yes, next week he might be a 0 out of 10. I can't predict the future, but after 8 rounds, there is 0 complaints.
Well, after 8 rounds, you'd have to say he's a top 5 fullback in the comp at the moment, maybe higher. Like
so.
literally,
I would think so.
You'd say maybe Teddy is ahead and maybe Pappenhausen, but he's better than a lot of fullbacks going around, and it's a really strong position in the league. Like there's some really good fullbacks in this league, but he is week after week creating chances out of absolutely nothing and carrying this side on his back at times. And even again being on the hill, there was Tigers fans going, "Oh, this Will Kennedy is just so slippery. Like we just can't. Like he's been so good this year. Like where's this come from?" And like opposition fans are noticing. And like you said, if fans are, other clubs are, and they're going, you know what, we could probably use Will Kennedy for 2 years while we wait for this kid to come through. Or like that Canberra fullback's kind of he's doing okay, but like he would. Can you imagine Will Kennedy in that Canberra side at the moment? Like now, like I'm definitely seeing the light in that in your terms of definitely someone in the NRL is going to take him if he's an option.
Or Super League as well has some money over there for the right people. And I'm not suggesting that Will would even consider that. I'm just, playing fantasy football here. And, there must be a lot of people with eggs on their face right now, whether they see the egg or feel the egg or smell the egg or not. And I'm not here to say that's right or wrong. I'm just, and I'm, and like our friend Michael on social media, and our listener Michael, who is his number one fan, he gets a bit funny when I say I'm not his biggest fan, and I maintain that. But I have a genuine like for what the guy does, and I respect any player that plays out of their skin, and that's what he's doing. And for the first time, I said this on, I think, the post-game pod, for the first time, I think I admitted in public to someone that, yes, he reminds me of a number one we used to have. And I've always known that. I just didn't want to put that on him. And I'm not suggesting that he's as great, but I'm saying in 8 weeks, he's kind of on par with what that guy was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of, I think that like this is only a small sample size, but this is as good as he's ever played. Yes. I know like there's that 2021 year, and I think it was maybe the 23 where he was lights out, but he's doing that and more for me so far this year. He's probably had one and a half games where he's been average to below average. Mm-hmm. Every other game he's been our best player. And the Daily M vote suggests that. Our voting in our group chat suggests that. I don't know where we'd be right now without him. I think we're probably a win or two less without him this year. And we're not in that game on Sunday without him.
Yeah. And this isn't the Will Kennedy podcast. If you'd like us to do a Will Kennedy podcast, we'll do that. But that's not what we're doing right now. Let's go through some other player performances. Josh, I probably won't hit every player here that I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about J. Ramian. He had 142 meters, 6 tackle busts, 1 offload, 13 tackles, 2 misses, 1 error of note. I thought Jesse was quiet until things started heating up in the comeback. So in my head, I was a bit critical of Jesse. He just seemed not himself in the first, I'm going to pick a number, like first 50 minutes. And I've seen that throughout the year on and off. I don't think he's anywhere near his best. Do you see that? Do you relate to that?
Completely. Non-existent for pretty much the first half. I mean, most of them weren't, but there was like that. He just all of a sudden came to life. And that can be frustrating as fans, I guess. Sometimes you're like, where is that for the previous 50 minutes or so? I'm not saying that they all have to be perfect all the time, every game. That's not feasible. But when he gets in those moods where he just wants the ball and he's breaking tackles and he's offloading, he's the one that got that first try right before halftime started, right when they did that quick shift and then broke a tackle, offloaded to Will, and the rest is history. Like when you get that from Jesse, like that second phase and the hard to handle, we look so much better as a team. But I think for me, he's just struggling to get Sam Stonestreet in the game. I think he's really stifling Sam. He's not getting enough clean ball. And when he's passing, it's either going out or it's above Sam's head or it's behind him. That's, I think, what is shutting down that right side play a lot. And I think the numbers reflect that. I know Sam's scoring despite it, but Jesse's numbers are down. And those quick shifts that we were so successful with him and Sione last year just don't seem to be happening. And I don't know why. I don't know if the opposition teams are just jamming him because they know how dangerous he is. But
yeah, I was going to say it may not be a complete Ramian thing. It may be the defense. It may be that Stonestreet and him are still working things out. I mean, he and Sione have played together since the lower grade, so it's a new combination still. So there are reasons there, and it's not anywhere near disaster. Like Jesse at his quietest is still not the worst thing. Like he can still be effective in defense and hit hard, etc. But we need him pretty active to be at our best, and it's just something I've noticed this year. Maybe he's got an injury we don't know about. I'm not sure, but I'm looking for more from him. I'll tell you who's becoming slightly frustrating to watch, and he's one of our best players, is Ronaldo Mulatalo. So he ran for 222 meters. He ran the ball 21 times, scored a try, busted 10 tackles. The kid's very, very good. He's one of the better wingers in the NRL. But again, I think it's a this year thing more than other years gone by, but we're just seeing a few of those unnecessary errors or penalties. And if he gets rid of those, he'll be legit elite. And he's so talented. Like we saw it on the weekend. It was like there was some 10 out of 10 moments from Ronaldo. That's the try that he scored. He had no right to score that try before halftime, and that got us back into the game. Brilliant from Nico, brilliant from Will Kennedy. But he had to do a lot to score that try, and he did. But I'd like to see him just cut out the errors. And he's still young for a footballer. There's time to become elite. But I just think these are the little things in our game. I think they're more individual things than a collective, which I think's a good thing. It's positive. You can fix up individual errors. You can't really fix up group problems, really. I mean, you can, but so I thought Ronaldo's game was really good, but there were just moments where you just go, no, what are you doing? Don't do that, please don't. Oh, you did it. Maybe that's how we live with him. I don't know.
Look, that is the wingers in a nutshell, right? But him specifically, like you look at last week, right? He had 12 runs for like 60 meters, essentially irrelevant. And then he comes out this week and has 200 meters and a great try, tackle busting, and he's in the game. But then he's giving you 3 errors, 3 pretty costly ones, like that reach out when he was very well held up and nowhere near. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like we've got him on the ropes here. And we had a lot of that across the board where like they were one punch knockout away and then we'd blow it.
Absolutely.
And we had a few of those guys, but I think I can live with more from Ronnie because he just gives you those magic moments.
I can live with the weekend easily. I can sleep at night easily. We're just having a chat. And I think he becomes elite if he doesn't reach out with that ball, if he doesn't give away a penalty, etc. I know it's harsh given what he did on the weekend. Because without him, you could say, well, we might not have won. There was a moment like he was heavily involved in the Will Kennedy try as well.
Yeah. It's 10-0 half time. We're not, that's pretty disastrous going in after the half we had. You're going in 10-6. You're going, all right,
absolutely.
Let's dust ourselves off. Let's come back out. And I think for the most part we did. And like you said,
absolutely.
Watching that live, I'm seeing all these orange jerseys around him. There's no way. Like, nice bust. Maybe we'll get a try in the corner or something. And he beat about 6 dudes, stepped around the fullback.
He's done that before. I think he knows when he can back himself and when he can't. I think that's a pretty good trait that he has. You see him kick when he can't, etc. But he kind of knew, like he just sort of he propelled, and we can't talk down the Nico Hines role with just the perfectly timed pass.
Oh,
And he had to sort of find the room and then the time of the pass, but also Will Kennedy before that keeping the ball alive and getting the ball away to Nico, I believe. Like without those guys, he's not making that run. But the run, it was almost like he came off the back fence. It was just perfect.
he's got such good instincts to be in the right place at the right time, because he was in off his wing. He was inside Billy and
He was in
Atkinson
the center,
and
in the
just
center of the field.
shot out of a cannon. Like he has such good timing and game nous. And Nico, like again, like you said, Nico played it so well because he saw him coming, but he needed to give him enough time to actually to get there to pass it to him, and just delayed enough and took the tackle, kept his feet enough. You know, like that's the stuff we do so well, like that off the cuff, the instinct play. But when we play like that, we look unstoppable. And then when we're playing this structure, like the pass out the back and trying to get these one-on-ones, like that's when we look clunky. But it's when we're like, no, let's pop an offload. Let's get the second phase, because we play really well like that. We just don't do it enough. And we saw like the Tigers, 31 offloads or something, killed us. We're having to make an extra 31 tackles essentially.
Yeah. So just looking at that this season, we're making the 5th fewest offloads. So 5th fewest we're making, but we're conceding the 3rd most. So we're 3rd worst at conceding the offload. We're averaging around 12 per game. So, and we've said it before on the show, like the majority of tries against us this year, which to be fair, I mean, we've conceded the 6th fewest tries this year, or equal 5th, I should say. The bad ones have come from offloads, so we know that's a problem. We need to fix that up.
It's the Hail Mary stuff that we concede off consistently. It's our scramble and our actual defensive system is really good. It's when there's 3 offloads and a kick and with the defusal of stuff, we look a bit timid in attacking the ball or attacking the player, and that's where we're struggling.
And I think you saw that with the bomb that De Silva picked up.
Yeah,
like, okay, that's not ad lib, but it's a loose ball, and they were just like, I'm not going to get it, you get it, that kind of game. And the Canberra try that we will never forget, like, it was a horrendous bounce. There were lots of things to it, but they also went through like 13 guys, to be fair. So it's stoppable. It's stoppable. Let's go to the halves.
Do you think that's a tackle technique thing, Sam?
No.
The offloading?
No, I don't. Oh, the offloading? Yeah, you can do better at that. Yes, I do, because some of our stats are not very good this year for, like, we allow a lot of fast play the balls. We don't hold them down for many slow play the balls, and that just speeds everything up. And I think you can definitely do better. Like the try that was their first try that Galvin set up on our right side, their left. Nico should have had him, and Ramian comes in a bit late, and he pops the ball.
Yeah.
Now that's just guys not being effective enough. Like, it was a great ball, but it was easily stoppable, and that was not Hail Mary or anything. It was just a pop ball. So, without putting the coach's hat on, I definitely think I would be focusing on not conceding offloads. Absolutely. I mean, as you know, it's a problem because if you have 4 guys in there making a tackle, well, you're going to be short somewhere. So I understand the notion of 2 men in or whatever, but if someone's in there, they got to wrap that ball up. I thought, as crazy as this is to say, there were times when they actually contained them okay, but May is just a freak, and a couple of those guys are really good at popping the ball. So I thought at times it was passable, but overall way too many. Let's talk about the halves, Josh. Braden Trindle, I think, is down a bit on form. I think it doesn't necessarily matter when the other half is going well and the other half has been going well in Nicho Hynes. But I think there's a lot of room for Trindle to lift to where he was late last year and even in some games this year where he's been good. But on the weekend, I wasn't blown away. Is that a fair assessment?
No, it's completely fair. And I've been speaking about this with my mates. Like, it just seems a little invisible at the moment for me. It seems like he's kind of taken a backward step, and it's affecting his game. And there's a lot of pieces to it. Like, for me, like, I'm looking at the tackles that him and Nicho are making, right? Like, so teams are targeting Nicho, and he's handling it very well, to be fair. I think he's only missed about 15 tackles all year. But Nicho's getting targeted. He's making 30 tackles, 25 tackles a game. Trindle's consistently making that between 10 and 20 every game. So he's doing less work defensively. Yeah. So he needs to step up. If he's got the energy, he needs to step up and take more accountability. Nearly got a 40-20, I'm pretty sure, like a whisker away. Like, that changes the game. That makes his game look better. But I just feel like he looks really rushed whenever he has the ball, whenever he's trying to put a play on. He looks a little in two minds on everything.
Yeah. Now,
and I don't
to
know
be fair, he did do the bulk of the kicking. He had 10 kicks to Nicho's 2. But even our kicking was down a little bit, although we did play a lot at the other end. So there wasn't really that need to kick that far for a lot of the game. Just backtracking for a second, I want to give Ramium a rap. I razzed him a bit before. When Nicho hit the post, he was the only guy running through.
Yep.
And it was almost the try of the year to win the game. I'm going to razz him a little bit more. I thought he could have done better.
Yeah.
Now, that's me watching a replay and over focusing on that replay. But my gut says he gave up on the ball a bit too quick. I don't know if he was going for the knock on for the other team or the penalty or something. I'm assuming he was going for the try and it didn't happen and he kind of hands up or whatever. But to his credit, he was the only one chasing it through. But on Trindle, I think you make a great point. He's just not really with the ball doing a lot with it. It's not like he's playing bad. He's just a little bit not even missing in action because his touches are up, but just not as effective. So
he's just
I'd
distributing
like to see
at the
him
moment.
Lift. Yeah.
He's just getting the ball and it's instant pass. So it's like those touches, yeah, he's getting a lot of touches, but it's just very pedestrian, and like his running is down. Like, he had 5 runs for like 18 meters or something on the weekend, like essentially non-existent running threat wise. Nicho's numbers are still up. Like, when he's still running the ball, he's running it a lot, and I feel like that's becoming more effective. Like, he built his game on his running when he was in the Dally M year, and there
is no doubt
like
when Nicho runs and when he's got the ball, we're a better team. And the challenge there is for Trindle to stay as involved because we need him. He's an awesome player. He's an awesome half, creative, clever, tough. So there's no reason why they both can't play their game, and we win games most weeks. But on the weekend, it kind of felt like only one of them was really doing that, and that was our half who kicked 3 from 3. He ran the ball a little bit, as you said. He had 2 try assists, a couple of kicks, and unfortunately for him, a bunch of missed field goals. But I thought up until the 70th minute, I thought he was fantastic.
Yep.
And then I have to take points away just because they didn't get it done. And that's probably a bit harsh. I know some of our listeners, and we'll get through it really soon, a lot more scathing, and that's fine. Some of the critics are actually saying, no, he was pretty good. So sort of the truth somewhere in the middle, I guess. But the more involved he is, the better.
Sam, if we win that game, or if he nails a field goal, he probably gets my 3 points, because I thought he was actually pretty bloody good on the weekend. Like, it's just unfortunate.
They would play that for 50 years to come, that field goal, if he got that one.
Yeah. Or any of them. If he nails one and wins us the game, the rest of the game he had, like, I'm not going to, it's the same with Hazleton. Like, just because of one play, I'm not just going to go, well, he was crap. You know, like, that's not how I work with the way I view the game. Like, I thought he was really good. And even the Will Kennedy try, he was the one that started with the cutout ball to Ronaldo. Like that's what starts that play. So like even he's not
Absolutely.
getting a stat on that, but he instigated
Well, he
most of
does.
the points we scored.
He does get a try contribution. Yeah, it's that stat a lot, but there's there's a stat out there for try contributions, and he does pretty well on that. We're not going to analyze every forward out there, but I want to tell you that Fanua Blake ran for 200 meters, Oregon almost 100, Billy Burns almost 100, Cam McInnes almost 100, Talakai, who's just killing it, 115 in half an hour. And Tall Tom played 56 minutes, 125 meters as well, 41 tackles. So if you want to bag Tom Hazelton, anyone, 56 minutes, 4 runs, 125 meters, 4 tackle busts, 41 tackles. So you can't say he didn't
like
try.
2 missed tackles, right? Like nothing. Like
yeah. But I thought the forwards did a pretty good job, and that's why it sort of comes back to the halves and the game management, because the forwards got them where they needed to be. Like every time, with the wind, even against the wind, there was a shot for Trindle to get, and he didn't. And I'm not putting shade on him because he was to the left. It was windy. I get all that, but they were in the right spot. So I thought overall the forwards were terrific, and I really loved some of the punch for, I think it was Fanua Blake into Kafusi into Hazelton. Like that's 3 giant dudes, and that's always going to be effective. Not sure what the heck happened with Big Tuku. He played 27 minutes and had 1 run. He did make 22 tackles. That tells us that we didn't have the ball a lot when he was on the field. But watching the game, I didn't think he was missing or ineffective. But looking at the stats, it's 1 run for 7 meters. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's that was disappointing because I think he had also an error and 2 penalties. He conceded 2 penalties as well, which really dampened things for him. Like I actually thought he was quite disappointing. I wanted him hooked, and I think he was hooked after one of his penalties or his errors. He wasn't on for too much longer than that, and I think maybe that spot goes back to Ueli next week. He got through his New South Wales Cup game. I'm sure we'll probably talk about Atkinson in that position, but there's so many of those pieces that are working. It's just we need probably one more to start getting to that 8 out of 10, because the forward pack, man, it's just unbelievable. Like everyone's going on about how Terrell May, and he was unbelievable.
He was.
Adam Fanua Blake did pretty much the exact same amount of numbers in less time.
Yeah. So we're not putting shade on May. He's terrific. You'd love to have that kind of player, but you kind of already do have that kind of player. So I think the key there is when Kafusi gets his numbers up, they're a lot more effective as a pack. And he's been doing that the last couple of weeks, which is awesome. Let's talk about Dan Atkinson before we move on. He ended up playing 51 minutes because our boy Hiroti went off. I'm led to believe, Josh, and until I see further proof, this is how it's going to stand. I'm led to believe Hiroti was injured before he missed that tackle on the try, because he had a pretty bad miss. And I'm not suggesting that Hiroti can't miss tackles, but it's very unlike him to miss a tackle like that. And I'm led to believe that he was injured. He's got a very serious, when I say very serious, he's out for a month, I think, with a knee problem. And he was taken off after that, and he wasn't hooked. He just couldn't go on. So I'm led to believe the injury. Now, whether you say that's, well, why was he on the field? I can't answer that kind of stuff. But maybe it was momentarily, maybe it was a minute before. I'm not sure. But I believe that bad miss was potentially affected by the knee. Our super sub, Dan Atkinson, came on. He played 51 minutes. He did a decent job in the centers. He didn't concede any missed tackles, which is very important. He did, by most accounts, potentially not distribute a pass for what could have been a try to win the game. We've had people wondering, should Sifa have gone to the centers? Now, Sifa's throwing that pass.
Yes.
100%, or he's steamrolling over. However, Josh, is Sifa going to be as effective with the runs and meters to get us into that territory because he's not playing in the middle off the bench? Was it the right move to put Atkinson there, considering that's why he's on the bench, to cover people?
I don't know is my crappy answer, but like you said, we score from that play with Sifa there, I think, however you want it. If it's a pass or he steamrolls. And Atkinson nearly scored. I think the most frustrating part was that he just didn't take the tackle, because we take the tackle, we'd probably score or kick a field goal, and he just tries to toss it off the ground because he knows he should have passed. But then you also got to factor in, does Siffer get beaten on the outside, and then maybe we can see another try. There's probably the other angle to it. And if the fitness is there, because he's probably bulked up a little bit and he's a middle guy now. But in saying all that,
go ahead. Sorry.
I think as good as Billy Burns was, and I thought he was great, that's probably your opportunity to put Siffer at second row. It's not as intense work rate wise, and he's not not as easy to get burnt on the outside when he's at second row. I want him on the field as much as possible because he's just killing teams.
But then, do you put Burns on the bench, or does he go to center?
I think you put Burns on the bench if the team was as is. If there was everyone was out that was out.
No. I'm talking in game time, like last week. What would you have put?
Yes, because then you can give Sif from like a 20-minute spell. You bring Burns on. He can play in the middle for 20 minutes, or he can come on the edge for Siffer, give him a spell, and bring him back on.
Okay.
I think hindsight's 2020, but I think I probably would have rathered Siffer there, but that's not taking anything away from Billy. Like, I thought he was actually really good. Yeah. And has been every time he's played for us.
Yeah. Very no frills, but effective.
I mean, he took that. The kick back in field, took that really nicely. Good pass to Kennedy, scored a nice try. Like,
I like him.
I don't remember him too many times getting beaten. Like, did a job. I just think Sif is a different animal.
He's in such good form, even with half an hour stints. We spoke about it, I think, in the last week or so. From a weird point of view, it looks like they're trying to preserve him for 100 years and going, you get half an hour a week and we're going to keep you for 100 years. You know what I mean? Like, because he's just so good. He's in such great form. Like, he's just so hard to stop. He must be one of the most destructive runners of the ball, particularly, like, he always has been, but he's maturing so nicely. Like, you could definitely turn him into, I don't want to use the word prop, but he's obviously become a middle. And he legitimately, at age 35, could still be doing this. Like, he'll be a bit slower, but he's not going to be less tough. You know, he's still going to have that badass about him. And you just see it, man. Like, it's just the impact he has.
And I think, again, with the Atkinson debate, I just see, like, he could do that. If we get an injury at center in 20 minutes in, see if he can play 60 minutes there. I'm not saying you go and pick him at center, on Tuesday afternoon. But if you cop an injury, he can do it. He can go middle. He can go second row. He can go center. And then you can fiddle the pieces around that. If Will Kennedy goes down, Ronaldo or Stone Street or Harodi or Ero can go back there. Like, the pieces are kind of already there. I don't think we need to put that spot on Atkinson. And again, I don't think he was bad. He was fine, but there's game-defining moments that someone else would have iced. I think even Harodi either scores or passes. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not Atkinson's fault. He's not a center.
He did that thing where he came back in for some reason.
Yep.
Well, not some reason. He tried to. Yeah, but he didn't even run straight or to the left. He came back in trying to step around the guy.
It's because he's not a center. Again, he doesn't have that center instinct.
No, but I think that if that happens again this week, I kind of feel like he'll nail it. Like, he's a smart footy player. He's a handy player. Like, all this sort of negative talk about, he's not our 14. Well, you can think that all you like, but he's not a guy who hasn't got talent. So,
oh yeah, of course.
Joshy, let's tell everyone about the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking. They have an awesome restaurant called The Galley and affordable, amazing, exquisite food. You and I have eaten there, and we can't wait to go back. That's at the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking. You can get member discounts, and you can book online, rmycph.com.au. There's a membership app. Their phone number is 9523-9300, and it's a great place to go watch footy. You don't have to go for a meal. You can watch footy there. A number of different places to watch sport, and if you don't know, it has the best scenery in the entire world, looking over a beautiful Bay of Water. So the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and hello to our friend Liam there and all the crew. Now, Josh, let's get into some mail, and there's a bit come in, as you can imagine. Now, you're going to have to bear with us here a little bit, especially for those watching on the video, because these are not read out. Most of them, I haven't read them, so we're going to be flying here, but we'll get through it. We're good. We'll be good. All right. Thanks to everyone who subscribed on YouTube. By the way, if you want to keep doing that, that would be eternally helpful. So keep subscribing everywhere. Now, this is from David. He said, not a good performance from the coach to the 18th man, bottom 8 level. Hard to compete for a title without winners in key positions. They tried hard, but isn't that their job? Not sure of contract lengths, but I'll be getting my resume ready if I was Fitzy. Zero improvement on the field in the past 2 to 3 seasons. Robotic, inflexible style has been found out. Off to next week, Mitch Moses, and I feel like we will get pumped. That's from David. David's not feeling too good. I think, David, with all respect and with all bias, I think Fitzy's not going to need his resume for a while. Respect what you're saying. I do like what you say here, though. The guys tried hard, but isn't that their job? I think that's a fair criticism to someone, or to, if someone was to say, well, they tried hard. Well, yeah, that's their job. So I respect that. Thanks for being in touch, David. Appreciate it. Stephen said, I thought the premiership window was firmly open. After 8 rounds, it's firmly closed. We can't ice big moments. We have a team that tries hard, but can't ice the last 10, 15 minutes of a round game, let alone like a normal round game, let alone a finals game. I would describe us as a 65 to 70-minute NRL team. If we're not running in front by 10 to 20, we're no good. Tough to watch. Despite the top 4 and top 8 performances, we seem to be getting worse. The problem I feel the fan base has is we have a side that should be performing really well week in and week out, but are unable to. I think this creates more disappointment from the fan base than if we were a bottom 4 side. He also says, you don't have to read this out, but it's a good way to vent my frustration. No, happy to read it out from Stephen, so no issues there. And I'll read out anything as long as it's above the board and not, personal, etc. I'll read anything out, so no problem there. On your points, I understand where you're coming from. I think the window is still open, and I think that is more to do with, Josh, the competition and how it is, rather than us killing it. But I think the window is still open. I also think it's round 8, and there's more good stuff to come, to put it not very intelligently. But Stephen is right. They need to learn how to ice the last 10 to 15 minutes of games. And you got any thoughts on that, Josh?
Yeah, just his point about the expectation. I think that's where we want to be, though. Like, I like that our expectations are high as a fan base. Like, I'd rather be disappointed that we're losing, against a pretty tough side this year that many experts are tipping to make the 8, and I've got them, thereabouts. It's not like it's not the Tigers of 2021. They're not that bad of a side, and we haven't been great this year. We've been pretty all over the shop, but I'd much rather be in this sort of situation than 17th or 16th. I want to be angry that we're not winning every game, as opposed to getting happy when we somehow win a game. I think it's kind of how I see it. And there's so much water going on the bridge. Like, there's so many injuries that could happen to other teams, and form and origins coming, and that's going to wipe out a lot of sides. And like you said, the year is just all over the place. Like, we're seeing Canterbury going 6-0 and then getting flogged. And, Melbourne are clearly the best side, but they're very beatable this year. Like, Canberra in the top 4, the Warriors, Cowboys, like all these teams that are sitting in the 8 now. Can you see them being there in 20 weeks? Like, that's It's a long time to go. And a lot of these teams like Canberra always start well and then fade away like the faders, you know, like so much stuff that's got to happen for the rest of the year.
I think also, and there's a bit of a theme here from different listeners about things are getting worse. I'm looking at the 8 games we played, Josh. I'm looking at the 4 losses. So we're 4-4. We lost by 6 points to Penrith. We lost by 4 points to Canberra in the last second. We lost by 2 points to West Tigers in more than the last second. And we lost by 14 to Canterbury at home. At halftime, I think we were leading, or it was within 4 points. It was close, whatever. That to me are close losses. That to me isn't a system falling down or breaking down. And whilst I'm not excusing any of those losses, to be frank, because Penrith should have beaten them. Canterbury, I thought at halftime we had it. Canberra absolutely should have won, and yesterday should have won. So there's no excusing that they should have won. But it's also not necessarily, I'm not looking at this going, we should be in 12th. So different people see different things. I appreciate that. But I just don't think the system's breaking down quite yet. Corey says, what's going on with this team? They never learn. This comes back to a coaching issue. If I'm the coach, I'd be fixing this ASAP. Same errors every time, giving away stupid penalties, terrible decision-making in attacking zones. They aren't going to win semi-final games playing like this. It needs to change now. He's critical of Tom Hazelton stripping the ball in that position, although he was great when he came on. I get the feeling we're on a downward spiral. We need Iro back ASAP, Wilton back, get rid of Atkinson from the bench. So a few things there that Corey's not happy about. I mean, there's stuff that you can't change there, though, right? Like Teague's out. He's got a shoulder injury. He'll be back in a few weeks, but we can't change that, Corey. How many more winnable games are we going to lose? Now, that's a great question. And he's not sure if Nico is the answer. He's a Nico fan, but haven't seen enough from him to say he can win us tight games. And again, Corey, all I'd say to that is he kind of did everything he could to win that game. There were a few mishaps, like the pass back to Trindle he shouldn't have done. But what are you writing to us if he hits that field goal, if it doesn't hit the post? Like you're writing in saying that was clutch. So I get that he didn't, but I don't know. I don't know how hard I can grill these guys for that performance, except for the fact that, and hear me out, I don't want that quoted back at me, but poorly managed final 15 minutes. I would completely agree with anyone. Nico's shots were actually pretty good. They were charged down, but he got them away pretty good. Corey says he thought his dad was about to have a heart attack in the dying seconds. Those games aren't good for a man with a bad heart. Now, he's actually being serious, I think, because I think his dad has a few health issues. I don't know. It's none of my business to talk about that, Corey, except to say just look after yourself and your dad. Do what's best for you guys. A footy game's not going to matter at the end of the day as far as life. And I think he should stick tough. He said he's going to watch the replay rather than watch a live game against the Eels. So there you go. That's the way around. Corey, thanks for being in touch. Hello to you and your dad. Appreciate that. Liam says, mayhem in the Shire. Another loss we didn't need. The team should be standing up. They have the size that can terrorize teams, but they don't. Adams, Finwell Blake seems to be doing it alone. Now, I disagree with that, Liam, because on the weekend we saw some really good forward performances. But he also says, don't be a weak coach who's afraid to change the team. This was our year to go all the way, and we seem like we're afraid to play in a GF. They have the team and the talent, but they have no heart, like the heart of a lion. Kennedy, take a bow. Fanua, take a bow. Talakai, take a bow. He also has criticism for Tom Hazelton on the strip. Fitzgibbon needs to address these issues, get tough with the players. We have guys in New South Wales Cup playing like champions who would fit well into this side. This is where it gets a little bit murky for me, Liam, where he says, I have a mate whose kids love the Sharks but are now thinking of going for a new team. That's how you lose young fans, he says. They only put up with so much. Again, it's not my job to be telling people how to live their life, Josh, and I try not to. But that's not a reason to swap teams. We all know that. And I think at the core of it, Liam, you know that. I know where you're coming from, and I know what you're saying. But also, I think that I don't think that's something that the coach and the players need on their plate that the young fans are going to turn away. I think that's a bit of a stretch personally. He says, this is on the coaching staff. If we don't make a top 4, then bring in new players next season. So quite critical, which is fine. Appreciate that. But let's keep those young fans, I think, Liam. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you being in touch. Don't be a stranger. Peter says, that was painful. I don't like slagging off players, but let me say this. Cleary doesn't let that happen. Reynolds doesn't let that happen. Hughes doesn't let that happen. DCE doesn't let it happen. I could go on, but you get my point. We panic at crucial points. The sad part is I'm not surprised. We've lived this moment many times. The sun will still come up tomorrow. Thanks for the pod. Sharks till I die. Sharky Pete. He makes some really great points, and I think that's where the Sharks need to aspire to be. I think that's where the playmakers need to aspire to be. And I don't think there's any problem with someone in the coaching staff putting together a video of 5 minutes of plays from those players and showing this is how they do it. We know you can do it. Go do it as well. But I think they're pretty good points, Josh.
Yeah, they are. What I will say is that all those players have let that happen though in the past, and I'm not here to defend them, but and granted, Penrith have just won 4 comps in a row, but they're coming dead last at the moment. And DCE, with the teams that he's had, only won the comp in his first year and has let this happen many a time and missed the finals many times. Jerome Hughes was non-existent in the grand final last year. If Nico Hines has the game he had last year, he would have been absolutely crucified. Again, that's not me discounting what he says, because he's absolutely right. Those guys more often than not have got it done. But to say they wouldn't have let that happen, I think is a bit unfair. Just because I've seen all those guys make mistakes and miss field goals. And
I think, to be fair, though, to Pete, if we were to tally up how many they'd won as opposed to lost, compared to our guys especially, and even if they'd lost, I feel like they would have missed the field goals, but they would have been in the right positions. I'm going to side on Pete's side here. I think he's right. And I hadn't thought about that. But you're right too, Josh, in the sense that, of course, you can do all those right things and still miss field goals and lose the game. Absolutely. Chad says, horrible game yesterday. I don't have too many positive thoughts, unfortunately. That's from Chad. He's a good friend of the show. Dennis has been in touch via sharkcast.com.au and said, one word to express the Sharks and the Sharks coach, and that is passive. I believe they can get out of this if the coach stops listening to the media and the BS around Nico. Nico won Dally M and was at his best when he was the dominant player. I don't think the coach is doing the team any favors with this mix of duties and Trindle putting, and as Trindle himself put it, taking the pressure off Nico. Give Nico the keys or give them to Trindle, no in between. Onto the game. Started well in the forwards, but flat in attack. Some more criticism here. Ronnie needs to be pulled in the line, not by the coach, by the players. This isn't soccer. Start acting like a football player. Okay, we'll get to that in a sec. Will Kennedy's playing amazing footy. and you think that Atko should not be on the bench. Keep up the good stuff with the pod. That's from Dennis. Appreciate you, Dennis. Big listener of the show. On the coach not listening to the media, I can tell you he doesn't listen to the media. So I'm not Fitzy's best mate, but I can confirm that he's a man with his own thoughts and ideas. On the Ronaldo thing, let's talk about that, Josh. We haven't talked about that. So was it right before halftime? I don't know when it was. He was taking the ball out of the in goal. Someone very, very softly tapped him in the face. It was high. And he challenged that and it lost. The problem I have is not that he appealed for a penalty. The problem I have is they wasted a challenge because all high shots, particularly in that period of time, so it would have been a dropout that had 30 seconds to look at it, etc. They're all looked at by the bunker and the officials, so they would have pulled it up. So he probably shouldn't have challenged it. In this day and age of guys getting penalties and staying down, I have no problem in saying I have no problem with it because every player is going to do it. And if you think that your team and your player is not going to do it, you'd be mostly wrong. Cam McInnes probably wouldn't do it, but a lot of people would because they want to win a game. They want to get out of the end goal. I saw some criticism last night. It might have been on the Channel 9 show. It might have been on 360. I'm not sure about, I think it was 360, about Ronaldo, staying down and that kind of thing. And what Dennis is saying about how it's not soccer. I don't know. I agree with the notion. Like, I'm not a fan of it. But if this is how they're going to play the NRL, if this is how they're going to officiate it, do you want to win the game? Do you want to win a title? I do. So if that's how they're going to rule, if this, for the viewers, and if the people listening on the podcast can't see, me tapping myself on the face is a high shot. If that's a high shot, then give him the penalty. So I personally don't have a problem with that, Josh, but he shouldn't have challenged it.
No, shouldn't have. But I guess we've seen a lot less given this year, and you got him
it was
high.
It was
We've
high.
seen that. We've seen way less get given penalties, and then they just the picking and choosing. I don't want to get into a refs thing, but the picking and choosing of when it's time, when it's not, when it's
the only reason they didn't get a penalty from the challenge is because they knew there'd be front page news if they gave that as a penalty. It's the only reason, because technically he got him high. Incidental, doesn't matter. Got him high. So you and I'll speak for you. We don't approve of those penalties. You and I are not fans of concussion. You and I want to make the game safe, but you and I agree that's not a penalty. But if they blow them every week, then I'm sorry, it is a penalty. That's my point.
Completely agree. I was like, we're going to get this just because the NRL has been weak and been soft on all this stuff, and all the crackdowns and the sin bins, like even the sin bin for the Tigers play was absolutely ridiculous. Like,
yes,
it goes both ways, and everyone's going to get their turn. It was our turn this week, both sides actually. How many sin bins were on the weekend? 14 or something, like
18, I think.
It's a serious problem. Yeah, they're ridiculous, but whatever.
Adam says, first time using the SharkCast website link. Very nice. He said, you sounded like a grief counselor in the post-game pod. So if you haven't listened to that or seen it, most weeks we're going to jump on post-game and dissect what happened and have some fun and not so much fun talking about the game. And listeners can jump on and the whole deal. So A, tune in, and B, I felt like I was a grief counselor, but I myself wasn't personally grieving as such. From time to time, it kind of hit me. It was like, oh, that's right, we lost in Golden Point. But certainly good outlet for me, and I dare say good outlet for our listeners and viewers. He says, the Tigers game, I want to change the tune slightly and congratulate the Tigers. I was watching on TV, but Leichhardt looked like it was rocking. Regardless of the result, it would have been an entertaining game for anyone but us. It was in the balance until the end. Both teams got fellas sent to the bin, copped injuries. the Tigers have copped a lot lately, but they still won. We lost it in normal time. That's a great point, actually. And those last 5 minutes, I was pretty confident we were going to get the job done. He also says, I love the little surprise of you and I the other day on the show with Clinton. He was also at the gig, one of my favorite bands. And he also asked Clinton, who I know is listening, if there is any way he can hear the full interview with Tim and Clinton. So Clinton, if you want to send me something, I can pass it on to Adam. He also says, should we make Leichhardt an annual game? And I'm going to say, no. What are your thoughts on that, Josh? Annual game.
I don't ever want to go there again. That's scarred. I've been there 4 times, and I think I'm 2 out of 4. So I've seen 2 wins, 2 losses, and that loss might be enough to wipe me out for at least a couple of years. But I'm ready. I'm always ready to be hurt again. So who knows?
Yeah. We love a bit of pain on this pod. Phoenix has been in touch. First time on here. Been listening to your podcast for a while now. You and the guys do a fantastic job. And Gary, Kieran, and Josh, etc., make it so much better. I can't think of all their names, but you know who they are. Just a shout out to all of you. But it's time I came on to the show via this mail and talk about the issues. He says, first of all, there's a lot of hate towards players. It's not tennis or golf or single player sport to criticize a player. It's a team sport. So the whole team is responsible for a loss, not one player. Which is a very good way to put it. You can't blame one person. I also want to say I'm not about blaming players. I blame decisions. I know the players won't be doing that. First thing I want to blame is the captaincy. Not Cam, but having the right guy there as the captain. We need a leader who controls the play, someone who listens to them when he speaks and controls things on the field with his voice. Although he's out right now, that man would be Teague Wilton. I'd love to see him and Cam McInnes as joint captains with Teague controlling the plays. That's a pretty good shout, actually. What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
I don't disagree at all. I completely agree. When you watch him out there, he's a massive leader anyway. He does a lot of talking in the sheds or on the field after we've scored a try or whatever. He's a natural leader, Teague, and I think he's the future captain anyway. So I think it's a great shout.
Okay. Now, Phoenix has written us a really great, insightful email. I can't get to all of it, but also he says, the Sharks last season showed why they have one of the most lethal backlines in the NRL, but this season we're a shell of that team. The big test comes next week. How do they handle Moses with his kicking game? Shut him down, shut them down. What's the Sharks' plan on this? He has to be the priority. Then you can have Nico and Trindle stand up and make them win the game. Nico's running game is so important about chances. We saw on Sunday he started running. We made big yards down the field. He also says he hopes KL is back. KL Iro. So Josh, not KL, KL. He also says with Atkinson, he agrees with most of the fans that he's a waste on the bench. He'd rather see Tuku or Jesse Colquhoun there, or both. Or potentially Beryl to replace Brayley at intervals, so he's not playing 80 minutes. He says, I watch these games closely along with other current NRL players and put different situations under the microscope. Hoping the Sharks can move up the ladder. Keep up the good work with the podcast. Looking forward to a win this Friday night. Up. All right, that's from Phoenix. I'll have a drink of water, Josh. Any thoughts on that?
Look, I am really looking forward to Friday night because these are the kind of games that we need to bounce back from and prove ourselves, and that no one's going to give us a chance. Mitchell Moses, fresh off the bye, 4-day turnaround, probably already flying to Brisbane. or walking there. And I think this is the kind of game we can come out and stamp some authority on the big stage on a Magic Round. I think it'll help like the fan base, I think, can be able to come together a little bit more and just get some much needed morale. Like a really good, strong win against the Mitchell Moses that everyone's just fawning over at the moment, and rightly so after one game. But I think this is a really massive opportunity for the boys to come and prove everyone wrong.
Yeah, we'll preview that game later in the week, but there are a lot of defensive issues with that Eels team, as good as Moses and Brown can be, etc. But they're very beatable. So we'll get into that later in the week. Thanks so much, Phoenix, for your insight. Don't be a stranger. Chad says, we had so many chances to ice that game. It wasn't funny. We're supposed to be a professional football team, highly paid players, respected coach. Where was that experience on Sunday? That's valid. It's very valid. He also thought we were lucky to be down by 4 points at half time. Josh, talk to us about the breeze. Was it as bad as it looked?
It was crazy. I mean, I'm sure you saw some of the kicks on the telecast, like when they were kicking off, and the first kick of the game, Lachlan Gavin had to dive about 15 meters to try and catch some of those balls. But it was just that far end when they'd put a bomb up, and that's kind of why the Silver try happened, was they were putting bombs up and they were flying backwards. It was really tough conditions out there for kickers and catchers.
All right, Chad is a bit apprehensive about this Friday night against the Eels, but he'll be tuning in. He said, thanks for the podcast. Love all the hard work that we do. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate you very much. Hope you know that. Dale has been in touch. Loving the podcast in 2025. Thank you for the time and effort you put into producing your content each week. Thank you, Dale, for consuming it. He does want to point out, I'm surprised no one has pointed this out to you, the toilets at Sharks Stadium needing plumbing. I think you forgot Paul Gallen is a qualified plumber. Surely he could take a look at them in between training with the team. Yeah, I think I'd forgotten that the GOAT is a plumber. So, you know what? He's an infamous, what's the word, Josh, for someone who doesn't like to spend money? Tight? A little bit tight.
Yeah, tight.
Whatever I don't get in trouble with the GOAT. I love the GOAT. But maybe if the club offer him a pineapple or a couple of pineapples, he might have a look at the plumbing. I don't know. But it's a great point you raised. Dale said, I just finished listening to the live stream after the Tigers game. I can't believe how quickly the fans are turning on Nico. I don't believe his performance should be immune to criticism, but has anyone stopped to consider the amount of defense he's doing? Well, Josh Bolling has considered that. 31 tackles, 3 misses, 4 ineffective tackles, compared with Luai making 8 tackles with 1 miss. Other teams are running their attack down the side of the field at him. He's always the first one back behind the play after a kick. That's a great point, actually. He's always there at dummy half going, who can I pass to? I know a lot will disagree, but I thought Nico got it right more than he got it wrong. He was let down by the team's silly errors that kept us in the back foot, like Mulatalo, like Atkinson, those errors. And also the Hazelton being ankle tapped. I mean, again, he said if those players come off, the king of Caringbah is the hero again. While failing to ice the game with field goals is a tough pill to swallow. None of them are going out there to lose. They're all trying their best. Some of the errors simply come down to fatigue. I liked seeing us go for tries rather than field goals. Take care. Hopefully we can smash Para on the short turnaround. I work with too many Eels fans to make the week bearable if we lose again. Yeah, I can relate to all that stuff, Dale. Hey, thanks for being in touch. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support. Maybe we'll pass on the idea of Paul Gallen being the plumber. And you're a Nico guy. And I think a lot of what you said is very fair. Josh, do you prefer seeing a team go for tries or field goals, or just depends on the day?
I think it's worth a crack every now and then because it's going to catch the opposition team off guard. I was just thinking, like, it's very risky, but I think you try something a little crazy. If the field goal thing ain't working for us, like a Brayley dummy on the 5th tackle and like a little grubber for himself, just try something that the opposition. What's the last thing they're going to expect? And have a crack. Maybe like if they're thinking everyone's setting up for that field goal and all these guys are going to charge at him, and then that space around the ruck is open. And I know we did try that on the 3rd and 4th, but
yeah, I actually think we are the team to do that. I think that get some of those backline sweeps happening, and when they work, they're impossible to stop. And maybe the team defending is not expecting that; they're expecting the field goal. So, all hindsight, of course. Before we do a few more letters and then let Josh get back to his life, a shout out to Jason Hawes of Crips Real Estate. He's been in the business for over, I think about 25 years. He's lived in the area and he's worked in the area for 25 years, as well as living in the area his whole life. He's a real estate agent and he's an awesome guy. He's a friend of ours. You can mention that we have recommended his services. Call him on 0410 417 450. 0410 417 450. Jason Hawes at Crips and Crips Real Estate. If you need any kind of advice about anything to do with the term real estate, get in touch with Jason. Tell him you're a SharkCaster, and he'll even have a bit of time for you to talk about Nico Hines probably and Braden Trindle and who should be captain, because he's an absolute tragic like all of us. Jason Hawes, Crips and Crips Real Estate. Josh, before we let you go, a bit more mail to get through. Andrew says, I've been a defender of Nico for so long. While I can't blame the 88-minute loss on him, there's only one $1 million halfback in our team who's paid that money to close out those games. He also mentions other players who would have done it from other teams. He's not our answer to win a competition. The stubborn coach needs to earn his keep and make some tough decisions. Enough is enough. This is my favorite bit. I know you're Mr. Optimistic, but enough is enough with this coach and halfback. The 7 isn't our answer. It's the deadline time. Deadline time now to see if the coach is worth his keep. Andrew, go listen to my music and tell me I'm optimistic. Go listen to Sam Shinazzi on Spotify and tell me I'm Mr. Optimistic. I think it's harsh. We've spoken about all the chances they had. You yourself have said he's not to blame for the loss. I see where you're coming from. I know it's frustrating. You have mentioned Cleary, Moses, DCE, and as we've said, they mostly get it right. Sometimes they don't. I wonder what you're writing to us if he gets the one that hits the post from 47 meters out. But I understand your point of view. I see it. I don't agree with it. I sometimes wonder with stuff like this, Josh, and we thank Andrew because he's a great listener to the show. Josh, I wonder with things like this, I put my head into fantasy mode and I'm like, okay, let's get rid of Nico just for argument's sake. And you bring in someone else. Is there a guarantee that they're going to kick the winning field goal? Like, serious?
Is there a guarantee that they set up the 3 tries to get us back in the game? That's and who do you get? Who's on the market that you could get? Like, okay, we've got $1 million to spend. Who do you go and get that's not under contract that's better? That's always my thing. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's get a better coach. Let's get a better whoever. I'm not having to go at anyone. I'm just thinking out loud. Like, that's all well and good. First of all, it's really hard to just kick people out of $1 million contracts. We've seen that. It's like,
sure,
someone's got to replace them. Well, someone needs to have the money to put them on their team. And then who do you get in for them? Like, there's not that many halves that we've seen why the Newcastle Knights are paying $1.4 million for Dylan Brown, who's a 6 to play 7. Why Daly Cherry Evans is still going to get $1 million at 38 years old. It's because there's none out there. And like, yeah, maybe Nico's not the best, maybe he's not even the top 5, but he's a hell of a lot better than Lachlan Ilias and, Kyle Flanagan and half of the 7s out there. Like, that's always my thing. So if we have someone out there who's better, let's do it. Let's get rid of him. But it's such a mountain to climb to make that happen and to get someone to want to come here.
It's a tough argument because Andrew's not wrong in the sense that
no, he's not.
The team should be winning, and the management should be better on the field in those last 10 minutes. We all agree with that.
Absolutely.
I just wonder, is it completely, so say just that game alone, West Tigers game, is it the Sevens' fault that they didn't get the bickies? And if it's not, well, then what's the problem here? Why are we looking to get rid of him? Like, I understand, the Canterbury game the other year, he didn't get it. He's no good in Origin. Like, I get all that. I've heard those ones. But as you said, there's 2 try assists, another try contribution. He's tackling his guts out. And he almost nails one from 47 out. He kicked 3 goals. So, yeah, we want to win. But the guy I keep coming back to, I don't know why, it's not fair to anyone, it's going back a little while, is when I play this fantasy game and I get rid of one of the halves, say it's number 7, you know who for some reason I just think, we got a guy mid-year one year, Tim Smith, Rookie of the Year. And against his old club at Shark Park on his first game, he kicked the winning field goal. What happened after that? Not much for the team, not much for the player, unfortunately. And no disrespect to him, like nothing against him. But for some reason, my mind goes to that and goes, well, we could get a Tyson Gamble. And Andrew's not suggesting that, but there's guys out there you could pick up for sure. They'd love to walk into this system. I don't know. Like if he said to me, we should be getting DCE instead of Nico Hines, I think then you can have an hour-long podcast debate about pros, cons, in-betweens. And I'm not suggesting I want that, but I'm saying at least that's an argument to have. And then you can look at the stats and go, you know what? DCE probably would have got that. DCE probably would have got him in a position. Then you go, yeah, let's have that chat. It's complicated. Appreciate you, Andrew, very much.
Just one final thing on that, Sam, is just having a look at some of the stats for our halves. Nico and Trindle are both in the top 8 for try assists. So they're 7 and 8, but they're equal third with a couple of other guys. So 7 try assists each on the ones I'm looking at. No one else has both their halves in the top 10, even maybe like the top 15. So we've got both of their guys who completely understand are not playing the best, struggling with game plans and that. They're still contributing tries to the team. And then you look at line break assists, Nico is out front first by a couple quite easily.
Yeah.
So when I look at halfback, half play, their main job is to get the team around the park and help us score tries. Half of that job is being done. And to a lesser extent, I think the game management's not as bad as we probably think, but it could be better.
Yeah.
But they're contributing tries to this team every week or every other week. So I just don't think, as much as we've kind of complained and bagged them out a little bit, and I think fairly so, it's still not that bad. Like we've got both of our guys are in the top 10 and no one else has that.
And Andrew sort of said enough's enough. I think that if we're a bit more patient with the enough's enough, there's a good chance you'll see the change and the lessons that the coach is talking about. Now, if this keeps happening and there is no change, I'm very much willing to have the chat about enough's enough and da-da-da. But at the moment, it's a bad loss. Like we got to cop it and move on. That's just my thoughts. And
end of the year, let's see where that's at. See where we finish. See what they're playing like, what the team structure's like. We've come back from worse, right? Well, there's a couple of times in the years we finished top 4 where we've gone, oh no, and then we've sorted it out. So I think we've got to give them the chance.
And we can't be clear enough that I have zero issue with Andrew saying what he's saying and being frustrated, particularly at that game. Like if you're not frustrated by that game, you're not watching it properly. Because as I said, as silly as it is, 45 chances, that's not true, but that's what I'm saying. 45 chances to win that game, particularly from the 70th minute on, clearly not good enough. I completely agree. But I just wonder, okay, DCE, Cleary, Reynolds aside, is the next guy walking in going to nail that? Going to get, I don't know. Josh says, going to need your positivity this week. Well, hopefully I've supplied it. Don't know if I have. I'll start with a positive. Late last year, I sent you a message saying Bubba Kennedy hit the ceiling. I have egg on my face. Okay, there's the egg I was talking about. Scares me to think how low this team would be without Will this year. He's been absolutely incredible. I'd give him a 3-year deal at this point and have him finish his career as a Shark. So that's from Josh. Negatives. Biggest one. Fitz. I'm a known Fitzgibbon doubter. I'd love you to share your insights into what you see at training because this team seriously doesn't look like they're a full-time football side. It looks like he has them doing community visits week in, week out, and never actually spending time on defensive or offensive game management and structure. So on that, I have seen them train, and they do everything you're suggesting they don't. And as the biggest Sharks fan in the world, I have no problem with how they train. I'll leave it at that. He says, Hines, Trindle, Nico wasn't the issue this week. He played exactly how I'd expect an averagely talented playmaker to play. Devastated he missed the 50-meter ping, but he's not world class. So what can you expect? Trindle, on the other hand, did they even watch the Tigers game last week? They don't handle long kicking games, and our biggest boot had one crack at a 40-20 all game. He should have been kicking on the third every set. Horrible game management from Trindle, who was being touted for Origin a month ago. Rant over. Hoping to see you guys pull some silver linings out this week. That's from Josh. I think we did that in the last 10 minutes, Josh. Yeah, we spoke about Trindle and how he was off. So appreciate you. Hopefully we've replied to your comments there.
Just hopefully understand as well that it was a nightmare for kickers out there. Like, that's not an excuse again. They should adapt, but telling you, man, like I haven't seen wind conditions like that in a long time, and the attempts of kicking from the far end was impossible. It was just kick and hope, and maybe they get the blowback. So I just want to put that context in there.
Mm-hmm. Fraser Glenn, a real estate agent, says shortest turnaround versus Eels off the bye. Who puts this fixture schedule together? There he is, Fraser, opening the can of worms. And we don't have enough time now for me to jump into those worms, but I'm absolutely filthy about this, Fraser. And anyone who wants to hear me talk about it, just find me and I'll talk about it with you, because it is ridiculous that we play the last game of the round and then the first game of the round against a team that just had the bye. Now, Canadian people putting the draw together, AI, bots, whatever it is, getting it wrong. It's not good enough. It's ridiculous. Playing teams twice in the space of a month, ridiculous. What are you doing? Have a look at yourselves. I know that the second in charge from the NRL was on all the shows last night, and he discussed it at some point. I didn't quite get an answer from him. I'm not putting any shade on him. I don't mind his work, but it's not good enough. It's ridiculous. And I'm not going to, I don't think, blame anything good, bad, or indifferent on Friday night as to what's happening this week with the short turnaround, but they will have very minimal time on the field together to train. I can reveal that. Like, there's not going to be a lot of days of training because there's just not enough time. So, Fraser, you got me fired up. Appreciate that. He said we should have won that game 5 times over. Brutal viewing. I thought we battled well despite not icing the game. I was impressed with Hines. That's not how it will be remembered. Kennedy was outstanding. Lost two games at the death. Should have navigated those wins. The table should be looking a whole lot better. Backs to the wall, aim up Friday night. I'm sensing a big 2 points. Let's go, Fraser. Let's go. What else have we got here? Steven says, I'm going to keep beating this drum until it happens or I'm proven wrong. There is role confusion, lack of game management and leadership out there. If Nico is our 7, he's responsible and it's not working. If Trico and Nico share the halves responsibility, it's not working, but harder to address. I get the 6 and 7 are just numbers in the back, but I don't buy that. You can't share who the players look to when the game is on the line. It's confusing. It requires a big, confident voice to stand up, and it's not happening. I'm not saying Nico is not a great player. He is, but create accountability by giving the tricky the keys to the team and the 7 jersey and simplify Nico's role to 6. Love the pod. I don't mind that, Stephen. I think that at the moment, Nico is the guy to go to, unfortunately for the Nico haters. But I don't mind that. I agree. I think that you need a definitive guy to go to at those moments. They can share it for 70 minutes, but when it comes to the moment, someone's got to step up, right, Josh?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like we said, whoever's got the hot hand, you kind of go with them during the game. But when it comes to that clutch time, and it's like, okay, who's the guy that's going to win us the game? We need to know who that already is. We can't be like okay, let's just try Trindle, let's try Tricky. Oh, Nico, like there needs to be a defining voice. I'm like, okay, I'm getting us to this point and I'm taking the shot and be confident in it. I completely agree.
All right, let's roll through a few more before we let you go. Steve says, what is this team? I can't see them making the 8, let alone the 4. Should have won that game. Dumb penalties, dumb errors. Not happy with Tom Hazelton. He says Fitzy needs to release some players. I'm concerned the season is fading away. Trindle also needs to learn how to kick a field goal. And he says Kennedy and AFB did not deserve to lose. I'm over this dumb team. That's from Stephen. Steve, sorry. Different Stephen here. We've got a lot of Stephens. This is Stephen from WA. He says that was hard to watch. He thinks Talakai should have been in the centres when Mawini went off. He says, I don't know who to be more frustrated with, the lack of threatening play in the red zone or the lack of diverse attacking plays. There was a bit of an issue with that red zone. Absolutely, Stephen. You see the game well. He also says our inability to manage the game at crucial moments is a problem. He's not happy with the short dropouts. Hand up. Also not happy with the short dropouts. Josh, can we just pick and choose when we do them, please? I don't think doing them every time, as much as I could hear the coach or the players or whoever it is saying, we're going to do this every time and we're going to get 4 of the 10 back. Okay. I think if you're feeling pretty good defensively, you kick the hell out of it and start from the 50. That's what I think. I think if you need the ball back to win the game, you go short. Call me old-fashioned. And he just thinks decision-making is not really happening at the moment. Really stupid decisions, especially when we're under pressure. I've held my tongue on Nico and Trindle for a long time, but I've finally come to a position I have no faith in the team for them to win when they're in charge. They don't have the temperament. Keep up the great work on the show. And that's from Stephen from WA. Appreciate you, long-time Sharkcaster. I think you've met Stephen at one of the first Sharkcast gatherings, Josh. If you've met him, you won't forget him. Goes by the nickname of Stats, if I'm allowed to say that. Brent, not happy with the team, angry and upset. We go through this never-ending battle. Sometimes I wonder if it's even worth it. Well, Brent, that's a decision for you to make, my friend. I think it is. I think it's worth it. Remember 2016? That was worth it, damn it. He's a bit concerned about if Britton and Wilton were out together, but they're not. Britton will be playing this week, which is good news. He has not been suspended. He's not happy supporting the Sharks at the moment, copying it from all the haters on social media. We know what to do there. Either give it back or turn it off, more preferably. He's not looking forward to this week. And he also sent a picture of a defibrillator, which I appreciate. I appreciate the defib. But last up, we got Juz. Juz said, in regards to the press conferences, so a lot of complaints about the press conferences with Fitzy. It's basic management skill to praise in public and criticize in private. The best coaches don't leave their players out to dry in public. You got any thoughts on that, my friend?
Completely agree. What he says to us and the media, frankly, I find irrelevant. It's nice to hear them talk and get you through the week, but it's what he's saying in there in the change rooms and the training paddock. That's what matters. That's what's actually going to make a difference. Whatever he says publicly, unless it's praise, realistically is only going to hurt. And I don't think we really need to know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember how this works. The buzzer goes full time. Yay, nay, draw, whatever. The buzzer goes. He goes down to the sheds. The team comes in. He says something to him. Then he's dragged away, like in a very, on the minute, on the clock kind of business by Rob Willis or one of the media guys to go talk to the press, minutes after the full-time result. So if you've gone through a roller coaster like Sunday night, we all get to, jump on the podcast and talk. He has to go talk to media who are waiting for him to say something really stupid to put on the back page of the paper. He says what he wants to say. It would be so easy to go, can you believe Tom gave away that penalty? Can you believe Atko didn't pass the ball? Can you believe Nico and Trindle didn't get it done? Like, of course you could say all that stuff. But he doesn't. And it's for the betterment of the club and the players. Whether you believe that or not, it's not for me to change your mind on that. But, and whatever you think about the coach, good, bad, indifferent. As you say, Josh, the press conference, it's just kind of bizarre moment where we think we're going to hear the gospel. But unless it's Ricky Stewart and Golden Point losing, you're really not going to hear it. Now, did we want to hear from Fitzgibbon talking about decisions? I don't know. Like, I just think that I don't think it's the right time for these people to be saying things. And I think part of that Fitzgibbon knows. It's like he'd rather, listen to his press conference on Friday morning. It's a lot more open, a lot more public, and people make a lot about. I'm surprised people make a lot about the press conferences. Maybe he needs to stop saying things like, "We'll learn from it." If he doesn't believe that, I think he genuinely believes it, and it annoys people a lot. I think if that's your biggest annoyment in life, you got a pretty good life,
Or don't watch them, maybe. Like, if it really grinds your gears, you know he's probably going to say it. Like, I kind of watch him just to, if there's maybe a little insight, or if you get someone was injured, or sometimes after wins he tells nice stories about this guy was crook all week and he got up and played a great game. Like, besides that, like, it's fairly irrelevant. And like you said, like, he doesn't want to give the media anything to write about to keep us, the club, out of the spotlight. Because what do we see when Ricky Stewart blows up? He gets $10,000 fine, and they're talking about it on 360 all week. So I just think it's not worth it.
He's also just a very, I would say, I think the word private is a good enough word to use when it comes to all this stuff. Like there's been a couple of long range interviews with guys he trusts, like Riccio, and we've been blessed to have him on the show, I think 2 or 3 times, and it took a lot of legwork to get it happening. He's seen it all. He's done it all in this game since age 18 or whatever. And people forget that. And he knows how the game is played and how it's run. I'm going to trust the fact that he doesn't like doing them. And he'd prefer just to say, wasn't much fun. It's always on next week. Let's get out of here. Like, he does throw the cliches out. I'm not hiding behind that. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think either it annoys you or not. For me personally, it doesn't really annoy me. I can understand that people want to hear more. I get that. But I think you have to learn that it's not his job until it becomes his job, his responsibility to inform you of how he's feeling. That's not his job. His job is to go coach them. Whether you think he's doing a good job, bad job, that's a different story. But it's not his job to go, how did that make you feel? Where did you think this went wrong? That's not his job. I hate to break the news to you, and I'm probably going to get 1,000 insults towards me, but that's not his job. His job is to go coach the team.
Yeah, his job's not to make us feel better, really. Like, his job is to win games. And when he loses games, he cops it. When he wins games, he gets praise. And I think the last thing he needs to do is go out there when he's emotional after a win or a loss and say something he's going to regret in half an hour when he's calmed down. Like that's our job to do the podcast, is to say what we think without being limited by working for the club or, you know, having biases. I know we do, but that's what podcasts are for, and for the fans to voice their opinion. Anyone can come here and say how they feel, how they have done this whole podcast, and we'll talk about it. And that's how we grieve a heartbreaking loss, and that's how we celebrate the wins. It's not for the coach to tell you how to feel, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those ones. It's a hard topic to talk about because it's kind of built up, I think, by the fans, and the fans have every right to build it up. And in a lot of ways, they drive what we do on this show. But I look at the importance of it compared to the fitness of KL or the form of Jesse Ramey. You know, it's just, I don't want to make this a thing. Like, I don't want to, like, I'm happy to talk about it 24/7. You know that, but I'm not going to change my mind at the moment. Like, if we lose 10 in a row and he goes, everything's sweet, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Under his guidance, I don't think we've lost more than 4 in a row. I could be wrong there, but they want more. The fans want more. They're entitled to want that. They know at this point they're probably not going to get it. I think that's the sticking point. Josh, we've got to let you go, my man. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the week until we talk to you. To everyone else, thanks so much for sticking around. Appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And we will be back with further episodes, I'm confident enough to say, before the short turnaround in about 2 minutes. We're kicking off in 2 minutes, Josh. Thanks a lot, NRL. Love you guys and girls. Or maybe it's not the NRL. Maybe it's the Canadian people. Anyway, SharkCast Pod, you know what to do. You know where to like us. You know where to tell everyone. Jump on board. We'd love to have you. Until we speak to you again, up, Cronulla. Can't play the song, so we'll play the intro, which is a catchy song anyway. See you, Josh. Love you, man.
See you, mate.